I'll do my very best to get this job that I so crave.
Welcome to another episode of Fanzone Debate. We're here for an exciting one. We got the number, I want to say 5 seed, Caleb Boatman, going up against the number 12 seed, Brooklyn Vail. Caleb Boatman, been a staple of the multiplex leagues for a long time. And I set up this match. He messaged me separately and said, Tim, I'm so pumped to play this debate. Thank you for putting me in it. I love you. You're the best. And I said, Boatman, you're a beautiful man. Beautiful man. Thank you for being here. Brooklyn, on the other hand, debuted last season, a strong first win. I don't think a great second outing that he wanted to see. He played Bill, who eventually went on to challenge for the title. So, I mean, he did lose to somebody who ended up challenging for the belt. So, but not how I think he wanted his season to end. And now they're both here back in a tournament to play. We haven't seen Boatman in a while, except for in the multiverse. I want to say it was the last time we might have seen Boatman in a match. So it's been a minute, but I'm really looking forward to it because these are two sassy motherfuckers. Let me tell you that when you poke their buttons, they can go for it and chop some throats. So I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this one. We got Mark here to help judge this one. Mark, thank you for being here and for being my new favorite person to call when it's time to judge a match. Thank you. How are you, Mark? What you think of the match?
Oh, I wasn't sure if you're leading into that or not. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to do when people don't ask me questions. Okay, that should be good. I like coming here just because I was having to watch a lot of debate. I like being here to judge just because see people that I know have done this for a while. I'm excited to see you guys like Bowden, Brooklyn battle out today.
Yeah. And then Cody, you are here. It's been a while. Champion Cody, I'm sorry, excuse me. Champion Cody Newberry here. Cody, it's been a while since, like I said, we've seen Brooklyn and Boatman debate in Fanzone, but you get a lot of both of these people when it comes to debate over the years or just running leagues together. Like, what are your thoughts? Are you excited for the match? What do you think?
Interesting. Brooklyn is from a debate league of time gone by. One host, kind of, but still dominant of a player. We'll see how that turns out today. I don't think he played his best game against Bill, and I think he knows that, but I think he knows how to debate, so he will be raring to go. Boatman is probably the person that gets under my skin the easiest. Like, he knows exactly how to do it, so I think he can do that to other competitors. And he's got this nice passive-aggressive way to do it. So I'm actually hoping he doesn't make it far in this tournament. Doesn't mean tonight, but I don't want to play him for the title. Personally, I would hate my life because I think he almost beat me in a exhibition, or he did beat me. I'm not really sure. And then he definitely beat me in a teams match against Ko with me and Kirk. So he's pushed me to the edge the closest in debate besides Kirk. I don't want to see Boatman go very far, but tonight, who knows?
Yeah. So let's bring in the lower ranked player first, Brooklyn. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. I think we summed it up pretty well. Strong first outing, disappointing second match for you, but you're here for it's a new day. It's a new year. How are you feeling about going up against Boatman in round number 1?
I'm feeling pretty good. This is not the first time that I've debated Boatman. Way back in the dance-off days, we did, and I beat him. So I know that he's going to be coming in extra hungry for this. I learned a valuable lesson in my last match against Bill in terms of just respecting your opponent, and I kind of gave some shit strengths from myself because he was able to kind of attack on those. So I just took a lot more time in focusing on drafting the right categories, and then watch just kind of going back on Bowman's film. He's able to kind of plant some bombs in the freestyle. Like in the last match, the whole Hawkeye thing, did he bring that up himself or was it Robert that didn't end up counting for the last question? So I have to be on my toes if I'm going to win.
I forgot about that match. That was a good one.
Studying tape. Look at that.
Brooklyn, I'm excited to see you in the ring. We'll see you in a bit as we bring in Boatman. Boatman, welcome back to the debate ring. I think the last time we saw you was in the multiverse. If not, it was that Robert match.
I think the Robert match was later, but time is a flat circle. So.
That's fair. How are you feeling about coming back to debate? Are you kind of laid back? What happens, or do you want to dance all over Brooklyn's grave?
I'm very much in a whatever happens scenario. We'll see what happens. I do feel bad for Brooklyn because there's no Matthew Rosa here to just give him the point every single round. But yeah, no, let's have fun.
Wow. All right.
Passive aggressive Boatman, everybody.
This is how it's gonna work. There are 4 prep questions based on 4 categories that the players drafted. I gave them some questions. They gave me some answers. They're going to debate them the night before our very souls. So they will each get 1 minute to open their argument, followed by a 5-minute freeform, followed by a 1-minute closing. At the end of the debate, Mark, Cody, and I will write on our handy-dandy boards who we thought won that point. The person who gets 2 out of 3 votes from the judges gets a point, and the first person to 3 points wins the match. Gentlemen, any questions as we get into the first debate? Awesome. Let's do this thing. Baby stuff. Sorry, Maggie was talking about baby stuff. Welcome. Okay, guys, your first question. It's going to be coming from the category of comedy, which was drafted by Boatman. The question is, what is the best supporting character in a 1960s comedy? Boatman, because you drafted this one, you're going to get to go first on it. You're going to get 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking, and I will come in to give you a 10-second warning when the time comes. So whenever you're ready, take it away.
What if I told you that there was a character in a 60s comedy that was a supporting character, but one that was so standout and so brilliant that people would previously later go into watching that movie and think that he is the lead only to find out that he's supporting and build a franchise around him? I'm going with Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther, a character who was so good. That is a David Niven movie. That first one is a David Niven movie. And when David Niven saw what Peter Sellers was doing as Inspector Clouseau in the Pink Panther, David Niven, quote, said, "This isn't my movie anymore." Because he recognized, despite only being in about 20 minutes of that movie, he recognized how good Peter Sellers and how memorable he would be. That is why Inspector Clouseau is the best supporting character in a 60s comedy.
All right. We're going to move over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
So yeah, I picked Benjamin as Buddy Hackett in 1963's It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. He's a character that is given the most outlandish parts of the plot, as well as used effectively in the script to give the biggest laughs. You can tell that the director and the writers in this really wanted to give him the most effective punches. In a room full of greats, he's truly the most animated character of the film, and there's so many times where like everybody gets to have their moment to shine, but then you see his character kind of used as a way to connect to the audience, and I'll get that into that later in the freeform.
Okay, ending about 20 seconds early. 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking. I will throw up the 1 minute warning when the time comes. If I feel like someone is taking up too much time or not giving their opponent enough room, I will throw up the let's move on. And if you still don't shut up, then I will come in and smack you with the stick. So 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
Well, first, I inherently reject the premise that Buddy Hackett is A, the standout performance in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and B, the most animated performance in a Mad, 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 Mad World. I think for best, you can argue Ethel Merman, and animated. Have you seen Jonathan Winter's face in that movie? Like, his facial expressions alone during the scene when things are breaking up. It's, like, incredible. It is Jim Carrey levels of facial maneuvering. Buddy Hackett's is just the second banana to Mickey Rooney. Peter Sellers as Inspector Clouseau. Inspector Clouseau is a much more memorable character. The idea of this bumbling detective who ends up being able to figure it all out is brilliant.
if you wanted to pick Ethel Merman and whoever else, like you could have picked them. They were up for grabs in that time. Buddy Hackett is given the best part because like when they're initially there and they're going through whoever gets a suitcase and they're trying to get equal amount of shares, and then he comes in and just gives like the audience's reaction to it, and then gets the big line. It's like, well, except for you, old hag, may you just drop dead, and it's the best laugh in the movie. In terms of Peter Sellers, this performance, it's just what they did with him in the first like half hour of the scene. There's the physical comedy doesn't work. Like he falls about 5 times in that first like half hour, and it just doesn't hold up because it's so predictable and telegraphed at the time, and to a point where you're not even following him. Like you're following Simone and just kind of the antics that she has throughout the movie.
First of all, the reason I brought up Ethel Merman and Jonathan Winters is because you claimed that Buddy Hackett was the best, that Buddy Hackett's Benji was the best character in the movie. That's why I brought that up. I wasn't saying that that's the best performance. I'm saying you brought up information that I believe is factually inaccurate, and you just dismissed it, which means that you actually agree with me. Also, on top of that, I think that I let you talk. On top of that, I think that Benji, ultimately, what is he as a character? You're actually not really describing him as a character. You're saying, oh, Buddy Hackett gets a few good laughs in the movie. And ultimately, the only reason his character works is because he's playing off of Mickey Rooney's character and their duo. And again, it's the duo thing. Whereas Peter Sellers is a fully developed character, despite only getting 20 minutes of screen time. Inspector Clouseau is a fully developed character, and he's not just following around. It's this idea of this person who is inept and completely idiotic and is not fit to be a detective, but is somehow able to stop David Niven. And you're not following Simone. If you were following Simone, people wouldn't have been coming out of this movie going, oh, Inspector Clouseau, he's the standout character. People wouldn't forget that Niven and Simone are even around.
That attempted humor, though, that you're translating is ultimately can be viewed as pity, because you see that she's just kind of like fucking around with him the whole time, to the point where like he even sees like the footprints on the mattress, and he's like, oh, well, instead of going in on this, I'm just gonna like be like faithful or whatever. Buddy Hackett is the audience's reaction to this movie. When you look at his performance, when he's in the plane, like Mickey Rooney just drives the plot around so that the audience can look at Buddy Hackett. Like he's just fucking tripping balls when he has to fly the plane by himself, and you see that reaction the entire time. And like when he's grabbing the headphones, he's like, no, I don't fucking want that. And it's so the whole animated face whatever in terms of his performance. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling my words there. But with Peter.
Well, you're bringing up the support.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
You're bringing up the performance again, and it's not about the performance. It's about the character, and ultimately, Buddy Hackett's character is just Buddy Hackett doing Buddy Hackett things. That's what that character is. It's the same thing he does in The Music Man. It's the same thing he does in The Love Bag. It's the Buddy Hackett performance, and it's fine, but it's not a character. Peter Sellers created a fully fleshed out character that was like nothing he ever played before, and again, it's a fully new character that people remember. You remember Jacques Clouseau. And ultimately, it's this idea of this character who is able to be this inept and have these little, would you like a room? And all these little jokey moments. While, again, the ultimate punchline is that he's able to stop David Niven, who is the much more suave, brilliant character. And again, he steals movies.
I just believe that you don't get the humor for him. It's more so pity. Like he might be funnier in the later movies, but I believe those are kind of overshadowing this, where it's stagnant, and it's going back to the same well time and time again. Whereas mine is there's more happening. He gets the best
time. All right, Brooklyn, you get to close first on this one. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Buddy Hackett is the best supporting character in a 60s comedy because he is able to connect with the audience amongst a plethora of every other characters. Boatman can go on and talk about these other performances, but ultimately they are inferior because they have such a minute aspect to the script. When you think about all the outlandish things that happens, the funniest thing in the movie is whenever he's going up in the plane and they're trying to land him down, trying to get him down because that would be nerve-wracking, and you get to experience that through laughter as well. And as well in the end, when they're on the firefighter and the ladder falls off, and he gets the last one because people need to stay with him the entire time. Peter Sellers ultimately is overshadowed by David Niven and Capuchin in these better performances that you want to go along with. You can say that there's physical comedy in Falling, but ultimately it just becomes overridden and predictable.
Time. All right. We're going to move over to Boatman, who has 1 minute to close his argument when he starts talking.
So again, I think that Brooklyn's arguing performance rather than character, down to the point where he keeps referring to the character as Buddy Hackett. He's not, that's Benji, but I don't blame Brooklyn for referring to the character as Buddy Hackett, because it's just the Buddy Hackett character. It's just Buddy Hackett doing Buddy Hackett things, and it's not about an actual fully formed character. Peter Sellers crafted a new memorable identity of this character that everyone knows who that is. And that's the thing, is that ultimately, and you can say, oh, Sellers gets overshadowed by David Niven or Capuchin, but no, they don't. And if they did, David Niven literally wouldn't have said, this isn't my movie anymore. There wouldn't have been a major reaction to the point where people don't even realize that Inspector Clouseau is not the main character of the first Pink Panther movie. That is the thing, is that it is unequivocally false that Inspector Clouseau is not gets overshadowed.
All right. Gonna bring in the judges. I'm sorry, I'm sick. All right, judges ready?
Yep.
I went with Caleb. I think that Caleb's did a really good job of kind of explaining very articulate. He did a good job explaining with words why Clouseau was the best supporting character. Right from the opening of saying, like, people don't even realize, I didn't even know that. Like, that's nuts. That's crazy. And his final dig of, like, Brooklyn bringing up the fact that he's just referring to the thing as Buddy Hackett just shows that, like, it's the performance maybe, but not the character. So I went with Boatman. Cody.
When we do things that we haven't done in a while, like disagree with Tim, I went with Brooklyn. I don't think the character of the argument is, like, not connected to the performance. I think that's really of a silly, like, it worked for some. It worked for Tim. It didn't work for me. I think the performance plays into the character, and I think Brooklyn basically, like, tied into moments inside the film that why that character is the best supporting character inside a 60s comedy. Basically, all Bowman told me was that David Niven basically said that's not his movie anymore because of the supporting performance. So he's bigger than the supporting character at that point. I don't know. It was just weird. It was like semantics fight of what was happening. Brooklyn came prepared on this release. I was so surprised. So I give it Brooklyn.
Mark, you're deciding this one.
This doesn't usually happen. I did go with Boatman. Yeah. I mean, semantics or not, I feel like Boatman argued the point, and it get like, and also I feel like whenever I think kind of Boatman did himself a favor by not picking a character who was in a ensemble film, and I think Boatman right off the bat kind of hit Brooklyn's choice by bringing up like 3 or 4 other characters that are just as good in that movie.
Yeah. All right. So Boatman wins point 1. We're going to move on to the second question from the prep round. This was drafted by Brooklyn in the category of the MCU. The question is, what is the coolest moment in a Phase 3 MCU film? So Brooklyn, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
So I picked the Black Panther Winter Soldier kind of chase from Captain America Civil War. In the MCU, growing the universe is one of the pillars of its brand, and it nails the landing of introducing us to Black Panther, as played wonderfully by Chadwick Boseman. A superhero with a unique skill set in terms of combat, as well as a suit that people quickly discover how strong it is. I think this is an effective introduction because you don't really understand what his motive is quite yet, as well as you're able to take him on with the integral plot of them chasing after Winter Soldier as he has supposedly killed his father. There's a motorcycle chase scene is amplified as we follow this train of Falcon, Black Panther, Captain America, and the Winter Soldier, and you see how all their powers play into the scene and how they move from car to car. It's just a very slick time.
Okay. Slick time. Let's move over to Boatman. Boatman, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I'm defining cool, and I think most people define cool as a visceral reaction. This is the thing that just gets you pumped, and you don't necessarily know why. It just gets you hyped. You go, oh my gosh. And I don't know a moment in an MCU movie in a theater that got more people to have that reaction than Portals. Like starting with the on your left from Sam Wilson and seeing those portals open up and every single character, the culmination of every single film in the MCU up to that point coming in, and the expanse and massiveness of all these characters coming together, and Rogers going, Avengers Assemble, which is something that we had been, put off from, Age of Ultron doesn't give us that. It's just Avengers, like so satisfying.
Time. All right. So 5 minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
Okay, so the thing with your scene is that within the parameters of your scene, there are cooler things on either side of that before the scene even starts. Cap grabbing Mjolnir is much more rewarding because that answers the theory question that was going on for so long. And then you're missing the coolest thing that you're setting up for, which is the battle itself and seeing how they interact with Thanos. The biggest thing with your scene is that Marvel had an opportunity to introduce just a new character. Instead, they copped out with having Gwyneth Paltrow become this hero, which is comic book accurate. But you had this opportunity to add in so many other people. With mine, you just get to see this whole new arc of whether or not he's good or bad, or he's somewhere in the middle. And then whenever they're shooting bullets at him, he just kind of looks up and he's like, "Guys, I'm from Wakanda. I have vibranium. You're not going to fuck with this at all."
I don't necessarily want to play the cooler moments in the movie game, but you brought up I didn't want to bring up that card. You brought up that card, and I'm sorry if you don't get to play that game when your movie literally has the airport scene and you don't bring that up. Like, what are we even doing here? If you're gonna pick a Civil War moment, you pick that because that fight scene rules. I'm sorry, this is not this oh cool. It's Black Panther fighting the Winter Soldier. We're seeing Black Panther in action. We see that in better ways in Black Panther. I don't think this gives us it's a nice chase scene. It is not anything revolutionary. It's a solid chase scene. This is something that gives us epicness and scope and a big feeling of this whole world coming together. And that's the thing, is it's also the question is coolest moment. You're really picking a scene. You're picking a sandwich. I'm picking an appetizer. And that's the question is moment. You're picking a whole enchilada. That's not what we're going for here.
Okay, so I'm gonna focus this next segment entirely on Black Panther. So for him, you're seeing the angriest version of him ever. His father just died, and it's one of the only times you see him use the claws. He is truly out to kill, almost in a Killmonger-esque sort of fit of rage. And in the scene itself, you get to see how they all interact. Black Panther is able to keep up with the cars just by fucking jumping onto them. If Winter Soldier slides, he grabs on, and then whenever things seem to come to a pass, there's War Machine that just comes in out of nowhere, and then you learn that he was kind of overseeing the entire operation. For Black Panther in the whole portal scene, like if you are the main demographic of MCU fans, and people that have been watching the entirety of the films, of fucking course he is going to come back. They are not going to kill off Black Panther, Doctor Strange, the new Spider-Man, and all these other heroes. It just doesn't make sense. And even if for like that main demographic just follows so hard, that they would know that like they're on deals, and that they wouldn't just have this risk. So you can say that it's satisfying, but it was a given.
Here's the thing. Again, in terms of defining what is cool, you can bring all the logic you want into that moment of, yes, we know this is going to happen, and we know that, and we know this. But in terms of the visceral reaction of seeing that, nobody gave a crap when that moment happened, because we didn't care that in the back of our heads, we knew it was going to happen. This is lizard brain time. This is cool moment. And the expanse, the massiveness of actually seeing it, of all of these characters, every single character coming in and being on screen together and knowing that epic scope is going to happen, that is the coolest moment. Fighting the question, nothing that you described to me is that cool. It might be, technically well made, but that's not the same thing. You're fighting maybe most well done moment. This is coolest moment. And you're fighting scene.
And then you go watch your scene again, and you realize how shit the CGI is in terms, and then like they like Return of the King, a movie much older, does it much better, and you go back and then you realize like, wait, like they're already there, so like the whole catchphrase Avengers Assemble that they're paying off for doesn't work. People jumping on fucking cars is cool, and seeing this unique set of combat that he's able to provide is just a breath of fresh air into the movie. Yours is just a fan service to everything prior, and doesn't give an opportunity to expand itself like it wants to.
Bucky was pumped about that fight. What's wrong with you? Sorry. Okay, so Boatman, you get to close first on this one. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Yeah, it's fan service. What do you want? Like, this is the MCU. What are we wanting? Are we wanting to say F you to the fans? Do we want to just do My Dinner with Andre between Captain America and Thanos? I like that. I don't think anyone else would, and frankly, that wouldn't be any freaking cool. This is coolest moment in the MCU. And the CGI, you said, oh yeah, when you look back on it, sure. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the visceral reaction of in the moment, here and now, what is the coolest thing going on? Again, the Black Panther Winter Soldier fight is, sure, nice action scene in between what's going on. You're fighting well. Why it's a great scene. And again, the question is moment, not scene. You are fighting a full-on scene. And again, it's like, yep, there's some impressive chase scenes. It's a chase scene. There's nothing new going on. Portals finally gives us payoff.
All right. We will bring in Brooklyn for his 1 minute closing when you start talking.
You may try to derail the rewatchable argument, but I do believe that there is a fair argument in terms of consistency. That scene takes a massive drop in terms of rewatch, and just seeing how everything is called back, and there was really a missed opportunity of adding something new, I suppose something that was already introduced. This is a raw Black Panther that we don't really get to see in the rest of the films, because he is so formal, and he is much more intelligent given this movie. So we get to see him. We had to see him really exploring his powers, and it was just so fascinating to see how his suit works and the powers that he has. There's just the characters that pop up in this moment aren't telegraphed, and I think it's just a nice blend of everything to get him in
time. All right. Bring in the judges. Judges ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mark, you get to go first.
Cool. Yeah, I ended up going with Caleb. I think it was honestly pretty close all the way through. I think where he won me over was the closing. Like I think for the most part they kind of traded off shots, and I think I know I know I brought kind of like the arguing the point. I feel like we got into a little bit of minutia when we're talking about moment or whatever. I didn't take a lot of credence into that, but I think we're talking about cool. We're talking about epicness, and Boatman brought up the payoff of the moment. I feel like he did a better job, at least arguing that point.
Okay, I'll go next. Yeah, I feel like Brooklyn did a very good job of explaining in his opening, especially why his scene was cool or moment was cool. Whatever. I accepted both answers, so I agree. I also didn't take too much into the minutia of the of it, which maybe is just me being crazy because I did on the last one, I guess. But yeah, so I think that I didn't take too much of that, but I thought Brooklyn did a good job of explaining why the chase with Black Panther and everything was really cool, and I thought it was a great answer. I love that part from that movie. That's one of my favorite parts of that movie. But I did ultimately go up with Boats and Hoes because I do think that Boatman just from the beginning was able to telegraph very clearly why his scene was just so fucking cool from beginning to end. And I thought like Brooklyn's argument of like, well, you knew they were going to come back and everything. Like I was like, oh, that's totally like, that's a good point. And then Bowman was like, nobody fucking cares. And I was like, yeah, he's right. Nobody really cared. So it was a tough one to battle against. But Cody, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Yeah, I think overall, from both ends, it wasn't the greatest fight ever because we got like lost for a while on like why stuff and like in your movie, and I think there was actually some incorrect like facts being thrown away. I don't know exactly what scene, like in that scene. I ended up going with Boatman because I think if the counterpoint would have been from Brooklyn's point, if he would have said, well, if we want to compare movies, the airport scene, and if he would have came back to tell me why I didn't include the airport scene and what's the problem with that and why this scene is better, it just always was left with Brooklyn having to defend against portals instead of him taking on the chase scene. So it just was too much to overtake.
Yeah. All right. So Boatman wins point number 2. That means that Brooklyn does need to hit this next one in order to stay in it. The next question was drafted by Caleb in the category of Disney. The question is, which pre-1980s Disney film features the most ridiculous plot? So Boatman, you get to start this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
So there's this purple lady that wants this diamond, right? Like, why? We don't know. She wants this diamond. It's a big old diamond that's in a cave somewhere. Why? I don't know. But you know what she says? Oh, she can't get to the diamond. So logically, her next step is to kidnap an orphan. Kidnap an orphan so that the orphan can go and get in this diamond from this pirate cave. But also it's difficult for this orphan to get this, so it doesn't matter. Still, orphan, go into this cave and get it. Also, I have 2 crocodiles with me. Also, oh no, the orphan puts a message in the bottle. Where does the message in the bottle go to? This secret society of mice. This United Nations of mice that are like, well, none of us can help this girl, but this Hungarian mice and the one who wants to bone her say we can.
Oh my god. Okay. We'll go over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
So I am going with The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, a truly just off the rails thing from what Disney is in the norm of doing. We follow a 1J Thaddeus Toad Esquire who likes to drive around drunk a lot with his horse Clyde. And then they get charged with robbing a car. And then he goes to court. He's like, you know what? You know who I'm going to call as my witness? I'm going to call my horse, because that just truly would get passed in like an even half real court of law. And then we go into the fucking Ichabod Crane, who's just this fucking gangly fuck of a character, long old neck. Like he may as well be fucking Mr. Fantastic. And he gets sung who his villain is going to be, but somehow he is just the ladies' man of the town. It's bonkers.
All right, that was great from both of you. All right, 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
It seems
so
like
in terms of humans. In terms of humans interacting with animals in the sense, this is not like too far off from the norm. And you talk about like the Medusa, like, oh, she has crocodiles, like she's in the bayou of Louisiana. That would absolutely make sense. That isn't too ridiculous, because they would later go to use that in Peter Pan with the fucking hook, and he has alligators in his, so that's not too far out of the norm. Yours is like a pretty generic like action adventure thing, and like her getting the orphan to use it. Well, like absolutely. You want, like, the villain wants to have control of this thing and feel joy for possibly getting that diamond.
So you didn't bring up the Secret Society of United Nations mice, which is pretty freaking weird. And also you're bringing up, the interaction with humans and animals that weird. The humans and the animals can talk to each other just like they can in yours, which I didn't feel the need to bring up, because frankly, animals talking in Disney movies is not all that weird, and you act like it's like this giant thing that the horse is talking. Oh, yes, a real courtroom would throw that out. Okay, this is still a cartoon. Like, yes, I'm sorry, we are not applying by the natural laws of the Court of English Law. Yes, that is so weird. We are not following that.
So I believe where I apply the double leg takedown is that this is like the one time where Disney's like, hey, let's make alcohol part of our plot in the movie. Like, this guy is gonna be going around. Going around driving, and then they're gonna get into this room, and it's like, oh, why are all these people passed out? Oh, they're drunk, and it's just like really, we're going this route. Also, how they set up the secret society actually makes a lot of sense within it. Like when they're all owners just get to the airport, and then the shoes are just kind of there, and it's like, okay, well, like if they're gonna meet anywhere, an airport just makes the most logical sense.
Okay, first off, you claim that this is the only time alcohol is a plot point in a Disney movie. Are we forgetting that No, it's a major plot point in Pinocchio, and it's a major plot point in Dumbo. We take up 10 minutes of the movies for it. So in both of those, major plot points, so that is invalid. But again, you are completely undergoing the fact that there is a secret society of mice who, again, are there to solve the problems of the world. And they're mice, and they really are not that good at this. But for some reason, these mice think it's a good idea to do that. And these mice don't even want to go on this mission. It's just 2 of them. And one of them is only going on because they got the hots for the Hungarian one. And how this comes together, yours is like, yes, talking animals exist. And there's a dickish school teacher. There is nothing all that new under the sun going on in yours. We have the mice Illuminati going on in mine.
Replace mice with humans, and yours just makes absolute sense. I think the mice argument is invalid because they have the note, and like they just want to be good mice. I don't think that's too ridiculous of a plot point for the movie. Then we get into, like, we haven't even talked about Ichabod Crane, this like guy who's just bopping around the movie, and then there's his villain. It's like, oh well, I need the head of this person, and they're like, and how he gets introduced is like the one time they break out in song, and it's like of the times you're gonna do it to kind of bring up this guy, it just doesn't make sense.
You just said that, if we replace all the animals with humans, this isn't that weird. If we replace all the animals to humans in the first part of yours, it's a normal courtroom drama. So how does that make any sense? That you literally just like, oh, well, if we replace them with humans. And again, that actually doesn't make any sense because it implies that this secret society of tiny people, because the fact that they're tiny is like a major plot point. So you would have people like having to fit in these giant, tiny little things. But again, even so, even that still doesn't make any sense because this society of mice is better at catching criminals and finding this little girl than the police. The police have been looking for this kidnapped child, but 2 mice named Bernard and Bianca can find her apparently.
Exactly, because animals wanting to help people is not an uncommon thing in Disney. Look at Dumbo. Look at fucking Monsters Inc. Even I know that's a bit of a stretch, but like when you look at the rescuers, when you look at Bernard itself, he is a man in a red suit with blue overalls going into a pipe saying, "Hey, we got to rescue a princess." I believe that would go on to become one of the greatest platformers in video game history. So I believe that character is pretty influential in some sense.
Well, we're not saying influential, like not influential. We're saying weird. And if you're telling me that Mario isn't freaking weird, then what are we even doing here? Like, literally, that's a game where people are jumping on turtles. Like, what even is that argument? That means nothing. And again, Dumbo doesn't help any people, by the way. He doesn't care about people.
Sorry. This is amazing. Okay, Brooklyn, you get to go first. 1 minute when you start talking.
So Boatman tries to paint a picture of this narrative that animals helping people is the most ridiculous thing in the world. When that sort of relationship between animals and humans is common throughout Disney. Like you look at Snow White, you look at Bambi after her mother gets shot. You look at Beauty and the Beast, and even that relationship in particular, but the whole nature of having this woman be there to and have alligators in Louisiana, which is completely normal, and unfortunately using this child to get something to her advantage is not the most out of field thing in the world. My movie is one of the few that relies harder than either of the movies that Boatman mentioned on like alcohol, and it's adult nature in film, as well as Ichabod. That's just, I mean, the guy gets sung to death.
All right, we are going to move over to Boatman. Boatman, you have 1 minute to close your argument when you start talking.
First off, Ichabod does not get sung to death. That's just inaccurate. He gets his head chopped off. That's what happens. He doesn't get sung to death. That's just a lie. Bambi, also, you brought up that, oh, well, animals are always helping people. Bambi doesn't help a single human being in that movie. That makes no sense. Dumbo, you bring up, oh, well, alcohol is a big important plot point. Again, that's a major plot point in Dumbo. You said the adult nature. Dumbo literally, like, has a hallucination on it. So nothing that you say of, like, that being all that weird, your Ichabod and Mr. Toad is not all that weird besides animals talk. That's your thing that's weird about that movie. My thing, you're saying animals helping people. Sure, not all that weird. Animals having a secret society that is basically just the United Nations, where a mice from each different country is represented and coming in and trying to help a little girl and doing it better than the police in that universe actually can. God is crazy.
Time. Oh, this is my favorite fight we've done in a long time. That was amazing.
This is my least by a large margin.
Oh my god, that made me laugh so hard.
I don't even know what to vote for.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh, do I start?
You do, my friend.
I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm glad to see Boatman came from the hard knocks of Coho and just yell very loud and high pitched about everything, and hopefully it sticks. I don't exactly believe I agree. Brooklyn made a lot of missteps, but I believe there was a lot of just fighting about dumb shit in this fight. That the alcohol use and what plot was different. I think Brooklyn did make a fair point, whereas the secret society, in a Disney film, that's not actually that wild to say of a Disney overall film. Then he got lost in the animals helping people, and Dumbo helps people, and Bambi. I was like, that means nothing to me at this point. I don't hear I understand if you replace it with humans, but I didn't hear a lot of takedown of why that. I heard why Bowman believed his was the most ridiculous, but I went with Brooklyn because I believe that overall Brooklyn painted a picture why his plot. Bowman didn't really go in hard why his is not ridiculous. Let Bowman he was more on the secret society. I heard that 12 times in this fight. A secret society of mice, and I don't know if that's enough to win the fight for me. I don't get it.
Is he Gilbert Godfrey all of a sudden?
He just
Get off that I'm molting.
All right,
he the Kraken.
Mark, you're going next.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go to you, Tim, because I did go with Boatman.
That's fair.
It just, even though I do kind of agree. I think this fight was a little bit of a mess. But I feel like as a whole, everybody kind of had a good answer going, for most things, except for the mice society thing. I don't really feel like Brooklyn had a good. I don't feel like Brooklyn had a good answer for that. He kept bringing it up. Bowman kept bringing it up, but I don't really feel like Brooklyn really nailed him on that one. And also, this may just be a minutia thing, a thing I know Bowman brought up a couple times, the romantic relationship between the leads. And Brooklyn never said that a romantic relationship in a movie is not weird, and that kind of I feel like Brooklyn. I feel like at least in this fight, I think Brooklyn just made a couple missteps in this one, which is more or less why I went with Boatman.
Okay, that means I get to decide this one. Yeah, but you're right. Boatman did yell "Secret Society of Mice," and sorry. Oh, I got so excited. I think that Brooklyn did I thought they both actually did a really good job explaining why their movie's fucking weird. These are both really good choices. And I liked Brooklyn's takedown of saying it's not weird for her to have the alligators. It's not weird for her to have, or the crocodiles, fucking kill me. It's not weird for her to, want to get an orphan because it's somebody that she can just kind of pick out of nowhere, take. So I thought that was all really good points. And I thought Boatman had really good comebacks to some of Brooklyn's takes too, of Brooklyn saying that if they were all human, and then Boatman was like, if they were all human, your movie would just be a courtroom drama. So who fucking cares? So I thought that was a really good point too. I went with Caleb. I think that just at the end of the day, Caleb was able to take a lot of, especially at the end, Brooklyn's whole closing argument was just naming facts about Disney movies that Boatman just then came in and was no. It was able to accurately explain why that was wrong. And if Boatman hadn't done that, we as the judges would be here, with incorrect information. And I don't know. I just think that Boatman, I think this one was close, but I do think that Boatman's just overall Disney knowledge and kickbacks at Brooklyn's jabs were stronger. So I went with Boatman, which does mean that your winner by way of knockout is Caleb Boatman. Brooklyn, we're going to start by talking to you. I know this is not the way you wanted it to go, and I'm sorry about before that. I know this can't be easy, but how are we feeling about this?
I'm feeling okay. I knew the first question I was probably going to lose, so that was the one I was gonna I'll just let him have. I was feeling pretty good about the MCU one. I thought I had a pretty good chance there, but then the whole whenever he's like, oh well, nobody cared about them coming back, was kind of telegraphed, because people still lost their shit. It was all right, that's kind of fair. I didn't really have anything for that. I was really looking forward to going into question 4 because I feel like that was my best chance to at least have a point. But yeah, Boatman's good, and you can't really get much by him because he's gonna actually to death. And props to him. It was fun. But now that it's 1-1, we have to have a trilogy somewhere. I don't know where the fuck, but.
Yeah, that's fair. Brooklyn, we will see you again. I'd love to have you back because again, you're 1-2 now. It's still
and that sucks because my 2 are to the guy that's the number 1 contender, and then Boatman. So it's I feel like my loss are to pretty worthy opponents.
Absolutely. So I can't wait to see you come back, Brooklyn. We'll see you soon later in this season when we're done with the tournament. But we're gonna bring in the winner today, Caleb Boatman. Boatman, you are now 5-3, and you have 2 knockouts on your record. How are you feeling about the match?
All right, I guess. I don't know. I'll be honest, I didn't prepare super heavily for this one. Life's been busy. So I think Brooklyn put in a whole lot more work than me. And I think, but I feel like just my general knowledge, and specifically, I feel like in the 60s comedy one and the Disney one was just kind of able to get me through everything else. But Brooklyn's a great debater. He had me on the ropes there. I knew that was going to annoy Cody, but I had a lot of fun with that Disney round. I didn't know I was going to get that crazy, and then I just kind of started, and I couldn't stop.
That's fair. Boatman, this does mean you're moving on, round 2 of the tournament. You're going to be playing the winner from last week's match, which is either Rue Moses or Tyler Birch. So not to spoil last week, but either of those guys.
Yeah. No, Rue's an interesting debater. That would be fun. I don't know a whole lot about Tyler Birch as an actual human. I know he's a great trivia player, but I know very little about how he is just in general as a talker, because I rarely he's in Fandom, so I rarely interact with him outside of that Super Troopers match where I probably talked to him for 2 minutes tops. Yeah. He's someone who I don't interact with, so that would be neat. Rue's someone I interact with a little bit more, but really not all that much. But I think Rue's just an entertaining guy. So it'll be interesting because I feel like he and I have kind of different styles of debating. So it would be interesting in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I'm excited to see it, see whatever happens. But you at home know, but we don't know yet. So Boatman, congrats on the win. We'll see you in round number 2. Mark, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, I mean, this was a match. I think at least for me, it was one where I think Caleb came in just with some good stuff, and it was. I feel like for the most part, just as far as debating, I feel like it just kind of Brooklyn. He kind of had Brooklyn, defending for pretty much the majority of this match.
Yeah, and Cody, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, Bowman's going to piss people off for the rest of this tournament as long as he goes. He has that way of just even if I don't think you said what you said, he's going to make you think you said what you said, and then you're going to just want to rip your hair out. Happened to me. Yeah, I would like to see Brooklyn kind of go back into a real debut or a new player and see if he can find his footing again. Again, movies has always not been his strongest suit, but he has the ability to piss you off and debate them pretty well. So I know it's in there. He just knock off the ring rust a little bit too long. But yeah, Brooklyn versus whoever is going to be, or Boatman versus whoever is going to be an interesting match for sure.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. Come back next week. We've got Nazario Montenegro going up against Joe Farrelly. That'll be a loud one. So we'll see you next week for that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Cody and Mark for judging. Thank you to Boatman and Brooklyn. I've been Tim. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
There we go. Thank you very much. Please come again. We have a lot more groceries.